My music it documents the trials, the joys, the tribulations and the escapes of working class life. Whether you're a working class person or you've grew up in that, background, you've walked the line, probably just with a different accent, a different dress sense and a different pair of trainees on your feet, really. Do you know what I think? It's the only real thing that actually separates us as people, as good people, is how we look. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Rather than, standing from the pulpit and talking about these places, I'm immersing myself into this place, and while some people might call it like gritty or gnarly or whatever, the people who live there will say, it's mine, it's beautiful, and it's real. It might not be perfect to you, but it's real and it's where I'm from and it's my town, it's my place. And, we have a sense of community here that's different to your community where you're from, and that's beautiful, and that's my ethos, is that everyone's different but everyone's equal at the same time, and no matter who you are, what you believe in, what you like to do, what you like to dress, what you look like, we're all the same, and that can be beautiful. And these people in these small towns, I suppose, it's just like, it's a nod to them.
Jamie, thanks for joining us in The Hardest Part.
Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
So the audience is about to hear the amazing session you just did for us in this room right here. Maybe you could start by telling them what they're about to hear.
Small Town Life, which is a song about people. I suppose we're in London, which is not a small town, it's a big city, and where I'm from, Liverpool, maybe to people who live in London it might seem like a small town.
Pretty big city.
But it's a big city, it's not a small town. And I've wrote songs about, me hometown, which is Liverpool, and the big city life and all of that sort of stuff in the past. But I thought, on the road, when you're travelling up and down, particularly in the UK, you're travelling up and down, you visit so many of these small towns, and that you pass through on your rites of passage, whether you're doing, in-stores for your album, or you're just doing a small gig in a secondary marketing tour, whatever it is. And they're always like the best gigs, like the smaller nitty gritty venues, and there's just something about these places and the people in these places, I think, which is what I'm trying to get at in the song. It's about the characters in these small towns and also the sense of a community. And while I'm putting myself into the eyes of someone who lives there, rather than standing from the pulpit and talking about these places, I'm immersing myself into this place. I'm seeing it through the eyes of someone who lives in maybe, I don't know, Blackburn, Burnley, Hartlepool, Prestatyn, anywhere like that. Them small little towns and villages that have got so much about them and so much character in small, square footage, whatever it is. And, a lot of the times these towns have distinctive types of architecture, do you know what I mean, which is distinctive to them. Like, Aberdeen, for example, which is like the Granite City, do you know what I mean?
Glasgow or something like that.
Yeah, and like, you go around Lancashire, you see the certain types of brick buildings, Lancaster and places like that. And what I also found from when I used to go to me, on a night out to some of these places back when I used to have a bevy, there was always a kick-off somewhere, and shortly after the kick-off there'd be cheers and glasses again, and best mates again, and it just reminded me of the chaos that's, and while some people might call it like gritty or gnarly or whatever, the people who live there will say, it's mine, it's beautiful, and it's real. It might not be perfect to you, but it's real and it's where I'm from and it's my town, it's my place. And, we have a sense of community here that's different to your community where you're from, and that's beautiful. And it's highlighting that every place can be gritty to some people and dark and bleak, but the same place to so many other people can be beautiful and somewhere that they love. And it's just the same with I suppose if you look at city life and country life, I could say, me and Lewis drive through countryside towns all the time on our way to gigs and venues, and we say, couldn't imagine living here or being from here because there's not a lot going on.
The weekend,
there's nothing going on. Like, how could you live? You'd be bored stiff. And then people must come to our cities and think, oh God, I couldn't live here. There's too many people. Or there's too much noise. There's no peace and quiet. There's no wildlife. There's no nature. Do you know what I mean? And so it's all down to the person, and it's about that's my ethos, is that everyone's different but everyone's equal at the same time. And no matter who you are, what you believe in, what you like to do, what you like to dress, what you look like, we're all the same, and that can be beautiful. And these people in these small towns, I suppose, it's just like, it's a nod to them and their support that they've given to me, and the sense of community that they have, and like I said, I just wanted to, for the people who've supported me all the way through, 4 albums now, near enough.
Yeah.
A lot of them do come from some of these smaller areas outside the big cities, and I've had the pleasure of meeting them and seeing what great people they are, and I thought, well, I've done my big song about the big city, now let's write songs for the folks from the smaller places. And it's about that defiance that comes from being in a place like that, you know what I mean? The will to succeed. We can fall or we can fly, you know what I mean? But we're going to give it our all.
Yeah.
In everything that we do, so that we can break the mould and we can succeed. And I'll use where I'm from as a tool rather than having it hold me back, you know what I mean? It's about your attitude and everything else. And yeah, I'm made up with how the song turned out, to be honest. And we played it for the first time with the band the weekend just gone, and it went down really well. So I think it's going to be a firm fixture in me set, and hopefully, should be next year be a firm fixture in me festival set as well. Yeah.
It's funny, I was talking to someone about it's kind of the same thing the other day, and we was about touring America, and that's what I always find amazing about, especially sort of when you go down through the southwest and even some of the west coast as well, is there's communities which are like 6-hour drives from anything else, with these really specific ecosystems and communities that will always be wrapped within that ecosystem and community, and there is nothing like it until you meet the next one, and they have such distinct souls and attitudes and experiences that have shaped them, and it's quite inspiring. Yeah,
and I always think it's like a unique type of warmth in each place that you go, like the people, like southern hospitality, as they say, in America and stuff like that. But I've been to Columbia in South Carolina, which was like exactly what you described. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was so different, such a culture shock for someone like me. And even crossing bridges, and it's like beware of alligators and stuff like that. And you're like, wow, do you know what I mean?
Fuck that.
Like, we've got to worry about pigeons and rats. Do you know what I mean?
Sort of it's like, you live in London, it's pretty unsafe, isn't it? It's like, there's no fucking crocodiles.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you make of it. It might be unsafe to someone from the outside, but to you've been here all your life. It's like, even in New York, people say, oh, be careful in New York of a night time. You're like, I know people who've moved to New York, girls who've moved to New York, and they walk from east to west of Manhattan to get home of a night, and they're completely fine 3 o'clock in the morning after a shift or whatever. If it's your place, it's your safety, isn't it? You know what I mean?
And it comes with.
Yeah, and it ties into what the song's about, really. Yeah.
Don't play the game, just change it. If you reach for the moon, falling on the stars won't matter. These rules are made for breaking. It's taking the blows to realise that you won't shatter. Oh, in the 3 strikes street like dead end town, where they lift you up and they'll knock you down. Oh, I know, and I know what I do comes back around. 'Cause there's a sunshine skyline you can't steal, and if you're feeling scarred, it'll help you heal. Oh, I know that it's not perfect, but it's real. In this small town life, at least it's mine. We can follow, we can fly.
I'd love to sort of dive into your process as a songwriter as well. So take the audience into the room when you first put pen to paper with this song.
There's a million, I always say with songwriting, the best way to describe it is there's more than one way to skin a cat. Is that it can come lyrics first, it can come music first, it can be a mixture of both.
And it changes for you?
Yeah, it changes for me. I don't really have a formula. Sometimes I just think of something and words start coming to me, and then I'll have a melody that I want to sing them words in, and I'll make the music to fit it. Other times I get a nice chord progression together, get a hum a few melodies until I find one that I think is quite euphoric, or it's got something about it, and then I'll sort of jigsaw puzzle the words in and everything else. But with this song, I suppose I had a musical manifesto first with this song before the lyrics. I wanted it to sound anthemic. I wanted it to have a chorus that wasn't too wordy, and something that was repetitive, and something that was almost an earworm to people, do you know what I mean? And that came in the melody, and I actually had the chorus first, because when it comes to writing singles, if I think I'm going to write a single today, I think the important thing for singles is the chorus. That's what the radios want, that's what the playlists want, that's what the fans want in the gig.
Festival season's going to want it.
Rule number one is showbiz, isn't it? Give the people what they want. So when it comes to writing a single, I always think that the chorus should come first. You know, or you should have an idea as what you want the chorus to do before you start setting the scene with your verse and stuff like that. So I'd sort of had this chord progression, and then I was thinking dun, 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 and I wasn't quite homed in on what the subject was going to be. And on my phone I have a notes page of just things that I could see a man fall off the bus and I'll write a poem about it, or I'll write a few sentences about it, like where's he been, where was he going, you know, and somewhere in that answer might become the title of the song or a chorus line. And I just looked through my phone, and it must have been from when me and Lewis were driving through somewhere on the way to somewhere, and we've been having that conversation of, you know, could you see yourself here, you know, could you live here? And I must have just written my phone small town life with a question mark, like what is it, what around it? And I went small town life. And then I thought to myself, I'm going to write this in the first person now, you know, as if I'm someone from this town. I'm going to pay homage to so many of the people who travel from these small towns to the big cities to see me play if I'm not playing there, and all of that. And then I just thought, at least it's mine. That's what, you know, if I was to say to someone, I don't like it here, I don't know how you could live here, but my response, if someone was saying that to me, and I was from a certain place, I'd say, well, at least it's mine, at least it's my home, and it's for me, and it's where
holds my memories.
It's where it holds my memories. It's where I identify. It's where you know, it's how I identify as a proud, you know, Lancastrian, whatever you call it. You know what I mean, like, or a proud Burnley, you know, blood through and through, whatever you want to call them. You know, it's mine, and you know, you can fall, but you can fly as well, and you might not see the opportunity, but I do. And I'm not going to use it to hold me back. I'm going to use it. So that'll all come in, and, you know, we stand side by side together, and then you go back to sort of setting the scene. And it's like, I suppose when you do come from a town like that, like we were talking about before, me and Tom, there's no rules really when you come from these places, because the landscape is almost, it's a blank canvas. When you're in cities, there's so many clicks, there's so many, so much noise, there's so many scenes that you probably feel like you have to fit in with in order to get your head start. Whereas if you're from a place like that, it's like, well, you know, there is no scene here, I'll make the scene here, I'll change the rules. I'm not playing the game, I'm not playing your game, I'll change it and play my own game. So that's where it comes in, you know. Don't play the game, change it. If you reach for the moon, falling on the stars won't matter. So aim high. You know, what have we got to lose here? Do you know what I mean? You know, this is a dream. This we want to get out. You know, and you know, obviously, like we spoke about in the early part of this interview, where I'm talking about, there's always a kick-off, and that's where it sort of goes into the, you know, you always see Adidas trainees, Adidas trackies in these sorts of towns, and, you know, specific architecture and street lights and stuff like that, and, you know, what goes around comes around in places like that. Everyone you meet on your way up, you'll meet on your way back down. If you're from a place like that, you could just you know everyone, you know all the characters, you know all the figures, you know all the players. And, you know, it's about, you know, every city, town has its own sort of skyline. It has something that, you know, if you're driving into that place, you know, whether it's Canary Wharf with London, whether it's the Liver buildings with Liverpool Radio City Tower, or whether it's just literally the landscape of the mountains that surround this little town that you're from. You know what I mean? There's something that stands out, and you can feel it, you can take it with you wherever you are. And it might not be perfect, but it's real. Do you know what I mean? And it's mine, you know. And, you know, we talk about all of these towns going into the next verse after the chorus. You're talking about the characters, you know, the architecture, all of these things that make this town unique to itself. Do you know what I mean? Like, the busker on the corner who's been there for the last 20 years, the man selling the paper on the other corner who's been there for the last 40 years, you know, your local cafe, your local baker, you know, the bookies, your local pub, all of these little things that make up you know, your memories, like you say, and have sort of laid out the path, so where you are and where you're going. You know what I mean? These are all stepping stones and these are all scenes along the way. And lo and behold, a fight will break out somewhere along the line. Do you know what I mean? People, like I said, I remember going to Preston and we walked into the pub, like 5 of us. I think we'd been whitewater rafting and we decided to like stay and have a couple of pints. This is going 10, 12 years ago now. I must have been about 19, 20 years of age, and walked into the pub and it was one of them where the jukebox stops and everyone looks at you. And you think, what? Well,
you're fucking rafting here.
Oh no, thankfully we got changed. But I was thinking still, we don't look like everyone in here. You know, you can tell we're city boys sort of thing. We're not going to make it out alive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they just all started fighting with each other. Yeah. And it was literally like a mass brawl. And then we went to the next bar because we thought, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And they all come in the next bar, cheersing each other with their arms around each other. And I said to the bouncer, I remember saying to the bouncer, like, he has just knocked 7 shades of shit out of him, and now they're stood together at the bar. And he went, "Oh, that's Peter Lurch. They do it every week. They do it every week. They're just like that every week. They're the best mates, but they always end up fighting." And you're like, "What? Do you know what I mean?" But that's what's real about the town. That's what's fair, and it's my memories of them places, and then you know, at the same time, you know, moving out to the chorus and into the middle eight, it's that euphoric sense of community and defiance, and you know, we'll stand behind each other. Do you know what I mean? We stand together, representing where we're from, representing our identity, upholding our identity, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? Like making ourselves proud. You know, being proud of our identity, I suppose. And that's it's. I mean, I feel like, you know, there's instances of that, whether you're in a small town or a big city. There's been so many moments over the years of people coming together in solidarity to stand up for either each other or something that they believe is right. Do you know what I mean? But I think it only really gets highlighted in places like Liverpool, London.
The pub thing's really funny. I was just recording a pilot for a different show, and the creative director, afterwards we were going for some beers, and he was like, "Let's go and find like a fucking pub." Yeah. And I think we're in High Wycombe, or just outside of High Wycombe, and we walked, and he was like, "That's the place. We could hear karaoke, the lights. It did just look perfect." And I had like a Middlesbrough Football Club tracksuit on or something, and we get in there. It's exactly the same thing. Stops. Jukebox stops, everyone looks around, and then also I was like, and Ham's like, "Oh fuck, maybe we really don't belong here." And I was like, "Yeah, and I'm also wearing a fucking Borough trackie. I'm sure that's gonna like piss someone off for some reason." Yeah,
or spark conversation.
So there's like 2 guys at the bar that had just had it off, like literally were going at each other, and then he came over to me, and I was just like, and he goes, "You," and I was like, "Oh fuck," and then he was like, "Oh, I feel really sorry for you, that whole Southampton Spygate thing." and then like about an hour later, he talks to me about that for like an hour, and then goes and then beats the shit out of someone by the pool table. What is this place?
He must have something about you if he's
£3 pints, mate.
Yeah, tell you what, it's not bad at all. I remember going to, again, I used to follow Liverpool.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of how I made my name in music, was by singing Liverpool songs at first, and then I decided I want to be inclusive to everyone, not just Liverpool fans, and started releasing my own music. But when I was 18, I went to St. Petersburg to watch Liverpool play.
Yeah.
And like we got like chased and beaten around that city by the hooligans for like 3 days straight. We got out alive, and on the way home we were stopping for a night in Copenhagen, and we walked into this pub in Copenhagen, and this big guy, like big, he looked Russian, he was about 7'5", skinhead, like, you know, like all sorts of tattoos on his face and stuff. And he come up to me in this pub, and we picked the English. It was called the English pub or something like that. We were like, let's just go in here just to like, we know we'll be
safe here.
We'll be all right in here, sort of thing. After, you know, being like, it was like something like the Warriors being in St. Petersburg, honest to God. I walked in, and this guy comes up to me, and I'm like, if we were Russian dolls, I would be the littlest Russian doll and he would be the biggest Russian doll, because I had a skinhead at the time, do you know what I mean? But I was like this, and he's like, and he comes over to me and he goes, "You, like similar, you," and I'm like, "Hello mate," and I'm thinking, oh God. And,
sorry, whatever it is, I'm sorry already.
And he goes, "Where are you from?" And I went, "Me." And I went, "England." He went, "Yes, obviously, where in England?" And I went, "Oh God," and I went, Liverpool, and he went, Liverpool? And I went, yeah, and he went, I fucking love Liverpool, and he gave me this hug, and I was like, I've never been so, you know.
You could thank the Beatles for that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, thank God, you know what I mean? Like, and it was funny when we realised, oh, actually we're in Copenhagen now, we're not in St. Petersburg, we're not in the Eastern Bloc anymore, it's all right. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, just, I don't frequent pubs as much anymore because I haven't drank in like 6 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, all me pub stories that I went from when I used to go there, quite entertaining. Maybe I should go back to pub a little bit more, have a bit more excitement in my life.
Tragedy and jubilation, as we sink through the struggle. The history, it's in the water. Another street light, street fight in this town, and you can sign me up for another round. Every punch that you throw, no, it won't keep me down. Cause there's a sunshine skyline you can't feel, and if you're feeling scarred, it'll help you heal. Oh, I know that it's not perfect, but it's real. In a small town life, at least it's mine. We can follow, we can fly.
You mentioned Liverpool. I'm always super interested to talk to songwriters about where they're from, how it inspired the way they write, and what they write about as well. What has Liverpool given you as a songwriter?
Obviously, it's given me big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
You know, being from the Beatles, but it also gives you that sense of possibility that anything is possible. Do you know what I mean? It gives you, you know, these lads were probably arguably the biggest and best to ever do it, most influential band of all time, I'd say. The Beatles, I think it's
cultural entity, full stop.
I think it's just, I don't think anyone could argue it, like with facts. I don't think anyone could argue it really. Do you know what I mean? And if you speak to Dr. Dre, he'll tell you that the Beatles are everything. If you were to speak to, you know, maybe James Hetfield from, you know, Metallica, he'd probably tell you how big. Dave Grohl,
Michael Jackson, it's all the same.
It's not just relative to what the music they were creating, it's relative to popular music, which is music that everyone likes. So it gives you the sense of possibility, because these lads, they came from the same streets that you came from. You know, Liverpool's a city that's a lot smaller than other major cities in the world.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it, probably just going off size and support from government and infrastructure, we've got no right to be swinging digs with some of these big cities in the world, with things like music, art, culture, business, all of the things that, you know, and it gives you that motivation to say, well, you know, if they could do it, you can do it. And also, I suppose, being from Liverpool, with the troubles that they had over the years before I was born, you know, with governments in the 70s and 80s and certain things that I won't go into, cover-ups, tragedies, and, you know, the city being documented that it was wanted to be ran into a state of managed decline by the Tory Thatcher governments. You have a tribal defiance in you, being from Liverpool, to prove people wrong, to prove people that you can do it, that, you know, you're not like the stigma that surrounds the city, the stereotype that surrounds people from Liverpool. You know, I like to go to places, and not just as a songwriter, as a person as well. You know, I come in here today, I like to make sure I speak to everyone, I like to shake everyone's hand, I like to be personal with everyone, I like to let everyone know that I'm a nice, warm person, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think in the songwriting, it sort of comes through as well. It's that passion is probably the biggest, I think, the characteristic of someone from Liverpool is the passion and the defiance to succeed. Which I've got in abundance, really, and also, you know, we're taught to speak from the heart and say exactly what we think, and I do that in my music as well. Do you know? Yeah. I'm quite blunt in the way that I put across things. If I think something's wrong, I'll say it in a song in no uncertain words, and I think that's a charm that Scousers have, is that we can say pretty much what we think and get away with it, just because of the accent, maybe because of the smirk on our face or whatever it is. You know, gotta look at like people like Paddy the Baddy. He's a good friend of mine, and you know, I think he's so successful not only because he's an absolute knockout merchant, but because he's such a real person, and he's just
he's so charismatic as well, isn't he?
Unfiltered, charismatic, and he's not putting that on. That's Paddy being Paddy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can tell you that hand on heart. But you know, I think him being that person that he is, unapologetically himself, unapologetic Scouser, I think it actually puts him ahead of other people fighting in his division, because he has that personality and he has that Liverpool grassroots, salt of the earth spirit, if you like, and that defiance. He's also, you know, in his head, no one's ever going to beat him again, you know what I mean? And it's that, like I say, it's the determination to succeed and prove people wrong. And, you know, I think people from Liverpool thrive off the negativity that surrounds. Not that everyone thinks that, I know, you know, like, I like to think that a lot of people are like me and we're all equal no matter where you come from, do you know what I mean? But I think, you know, unfortunately I've been subject to a lot of xenophobia about being from Liverpool, and you know, it does, I suppose, it gets you back up in a way that you don't want, you know, I don't think that we're the greatest people in the world just because we're from Liverpool, but what I want to say is, you know, I've got just as much a right to be here as anyone else has.
Of course,
you know, whether you're from Liverpool, Syria, Zimbabwe, London, Sierra Leone, Ireland, Germany, wherever it is you're from, you know, Montevideo, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're a good person, you're a good person, and we've all got the same playing field. And I think that's the message I try and get across in my music as well. It's that, like, we should all look after each other a little bit better, because history's proven that we haven't really looked after each other, you know, as human beings. We're not as kind to each other as we should be. The world isn't as kind as it should be, and you know, that's another big message in my music that I like to get across. You know, I've been on one side of the fence and I've been on the other side of the fence as well, and I'm telling you, to be nice is, and I don't know, to look after each other when people upstairs aren't doing what they should for you. We've got to set the example on the ground, and it's a big message in my music. I like to let people know just how different maybe things could be, you know, and also, you know, that there is a way out of the mad society that I think is just insanity, to be honest with you.
The only thing that separates is the circumstance, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, like my music it documents the trials, the joys, the tribulations and the escapes of working class life. And whether you're a working class person or you've grew up in that, you know, background in East London or on the East River, or, you know, in Liverpool, Blackburn, Norwich, wherever it is, Glasgow, you've walked the line, probably just with a different accent, a different dress sense and a different pair of trainers on your feet, really. Do you know what I think? It's the only real thing that actually separates us as people, as good people, is how we look. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And so that's, you know, small town life, to tie it back to the single, I suppose. It's like, you know, there's magic in them places as well. Don't just think because someone's from, you know, a different background from you that they've got less of a right to do what you're doing, or that they shouldn't be able to do certain things, or that they've got no chance. Do you know what I mean? It's I'm a people person, me, and I think small towns are filled with amazing people, and you can learn a lot from them, no matter what you know or where you're from.
I like to wrap up this interview every time with the same question, and it comes from a place where everyone was telling me new song by an artist I really liked was their best yet. I gave it a listen. It wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it. But then straight afterwards, I heard an interview, the lead singer, talking about the vocal nuances in the chorus, of how he sang the chorus and what it meant. And then what it meant so much more to me once I heard that sort of strain and hurt and pain in his voice. And I've never heard the song the same ever again. And it's one of the things I love about sort of doing this job as well, is I get to speak to so many artists off the record about music and songs, and I get all these little insights into things that help me enjoy their music in a way that maybe not everyone gets to. So it's a stripped back version, albeit, but as our audience are about to hear the session you just did for us, is there anything you want them just to have in the back of their mind that's going to change the way they experience this track?
It's a very good question. I suppose from the acoustic version, if they're looking at this version alone, I'd say, definitely that I've just got off the back of 3 gigs in 24 hours in Liverpool and bombed it down the M6 to come and do this. So my throat is really like at about 30%. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that I still try and put everything I've got into my performance, and like, you know, I do in every performance. Like the last gig, the last of the 3 gigs, I knew that I was going to blow my voice out but I left it all out there, and I suppose that's what I've done here. I've given everything I could in the takes that I had. Actually recording the song, it was actually the low bits for me.
Yeah.
So my comfortable range is when my voice is where it should be, is sort of my mid-high range. So the choruses and stuff like that, I can do that without thinking a lot. It's just my...
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
My natural sort of frantic personality, I suppose, coming out in that high energy chorus, and I'm summoning all of that energy from within inside me. But it's for me, because as you can probably tell after this interview, I'm an agitated little fucker. You know what I mean? I'm all over the place. But to pull back in them early parts of the songs where it's lower, it's a lot more like,
Yeah.
Well,
somber,
it's somber, what's gonna happen here? That for me is an absolute, it's such a hard thing to do. I just want to grab the mic stand and shake it and, give it. So to really think about me delivery, and I suppose in the drop down chorus towards the end, and it's you can almost hear the breaks in my voice because I'm sort of trying to restrain myself a little bit. And I suppose the jump from that drop down chorus into the last chorus is the two contrasts of me performing, and the controlled side of it. It was the hardest part for me. It was to try and get the melody, without the wobbles and without at that sort of deep sort of tone. It was tough. It's not something I'm very used to doing. I'm used to just going out and.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you go to studios, you work with producers, and they have ideas for how to make more of an impact. And I think the most impactful or the most jarring part of the song is that bit where it goes, "No time life, at least it's mine. We can fall or we can fly." And then there's a big stop, and then I'm straight into how I like to be. And it's almost like two different versions of myself pulling and pushing against each other in the song. And that was why it was hard to perform from start to finish, because you're going from one version of yourself back to this almost I don't even know what the way to describe it is. It's a bit more of a nonchalant version of myself, which is not how I walk around, to be honest. You know what I mean? So, that was definitely something that I've never really done before when performing. Even though it's a recording, it's still, on the track, it's still a performance. And it's something that I think I need to work on a lot more, but it was good to throw myself into the deep end. And you could probably hear in the track that there's moments of uncomfortability. Do you know what I mean? I'm a little bit, you can, if you go back and listen, you can probably hear where, that's him in his realm, and maybe this part of the song is a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more nonchalant. And I did struggle with that performance from going from one to the other so quickly. And the producer was like, "Do you want to just do the low bits as the low bits and do the high bits as the high?" I was like, "No, because how am I going to do it live? I'm not," you know what I mean? I was like, "It's got to be fucking done properly." And I'm one of them. I don't really like to do sections of a song.
Yeah.
I just like to sing it just 5-6 times and take what you've got from that, you know what I mean? Because that's me. And like it says in the song, it's not perfect, but it's real. And I think that's I've never known a lyric actually as well. That's another thing to sum me up. So true. It's not perfect, but it's real. Do you know what I mean? And that's and a Scouser as well, I suppose. A good way to sum up a Scouser. That's a good question though.
Thank you very much. Jamie, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks very much, mate. Pleasure.
Don't play the game, just change it. If you reach for the moon, falling on the stars won't matter. These rules are made for breaking. It's taking the blows to realize that you won't shatter. Oh, in a 3 strike street like dead end town, where they lift you up and they'll knock you down. Oh, I know, and I know what I do comes back around. 'Cause there's a a sunshine skyline you can't steal, and if you're feeling scarred, it'll help you heal. Oh, I know that it's not perfect, but it's real. In this small town life, at least it's mine. We can follow, we can fly. In this small town life, dreams pass you by, still we stand side by side. In this small town life. I could stay here forever, see the architecture in your eye, characters on every corner, tragedy and jubilation, as we sink through the struggle, the history it's in the water. Another street light, street fight in this town, and you can sign me up for another round. Every punch that you throw, no, it won't keep me down. Cause there's a sunshine skyline you can't feel, and if you're feeling scarred, it'll help you heal. Oh, I know that it's not perfect, but it's real. In a small town life, at least it's mine. We can follow, we can fly. In a small town life, dreams pass you by, still we stand side by side. In this small town, oh, you know where to find me, where people stand behind me, and I'll stand behind you too. You know where to find me, where people stand behind me, and I'll stand behind you too. In a small town life, at least it's mine. We can follow, we can fly. In this small town life, at least it's mine. We can follow, we can fly. In this small town life, dreams pass you by, still we stand side by side. In this small town life.